How are you? How the hell do you follow that? I promised I'd keep it clean for you beautiful kids. The father just gave me permission, so. I was part of the group who sat down with Simon Coveney under the notion that we were going to negotiate a deal for our most vulnerable. Not only did he lie, not only did he deceive, but he's kind of proud of it, and now he's the second in command, the consigliere to the godfather of the mafia that is the Irish government. But I would try and keep it clean. I'm not crazy. I will end homeless families living in hostels. That was the headline. Irish Independent, January 2017. Simon Coveney. Guaranteeing kids they'd be out of emergency accommodation by summer. He was going to be Father Christmas in June. There was a picture of him too. That smile, practiced. Those eyes, duplicitous. And that quote, haunting. I am not crazy. I will end homeless families living in hostels. My youngest boy was sitting beside me as I read it. He was drawing a picture of his home, the one the banks are trying to repossess. As I read the article, the word was almost imperceptible, less than a whisper, unaware I had even said it, but my boy looked up from his drawing. He had heard it. Dad, he said, what is a psychopath? He'd heard me mumble that word before, and now he wanted clarity. What is a psychopath? So I did what any dad would do who was trying to bite back his own personal prejudice and said, let's look it up in the dictionary. And this is what the Cambridge English Dictionary said. A psychopath is a person who has no feelings for other people, does not think about the future, does not feel bad about anything they have done in the past, very mentally ill, unstable, and dangerous. My son looked back at the picture of Simon Coveney, that smile. Then the boy summed up the problem when he said, he doesn't look like a psychopath to me. The kid had just called me on my prejudice, effortlessly, accurately, humanely. He had exposed it all. Unfair judgment, dehumanizing somebody for political gain, pushing divisive ideologies, creating damaging agendas, calling a man a psychopath. My son had just called me out on the normalization of obscenity. Unlike thousands of kids in emergency accommodation, our leaders don't need a hashtag. They have names. Splendid names they are too. Leonardo Eric Varadkar. Like a Bram Stoker creation. Dead from the neck down. And not particularly alive above it. But he tries. And his general, Simon Anthony Coveney, like the illegitimate love child of Iago and the Pied Piper of Hamelin, finally being identified and given a name, only to find all the kids are already dead. The vampire and the Pied Piper, Varadkar and the sidekick, Laurel and the Hardy Buck. Two straight men pumping out a national sitcom with a daily punchline, this is normal, that nobody laughs at, except them. That smile. Is it wrong to ask, is Leonardo and Iago normal? They're very different men. Is Leonardo's sexuality normal? Are we allowed to ask that question? Is ethnicity going too far, crossing the line? A young, gay, multi-ethnic leader is something we should be intensely proud of. Communities braver than both those men put together have proven that a man or a woman's sexuality and ethnicity are not just normal, but are a beautiful part of our modern Ireland. Yet, we can't shake that feeling, can we? Nothing to do with sexuality or ethnicity. There's just something about Leonardo. Something, dare we say it, abnormal, something broken, something inhuman. Same with the sidekick. Straight, white male, privileged, loving wife, beautiful kids. What more could Simon want? Yet, that broken thing is in him too, isn't it? Something inhuman, something that compelled him to declare to thousands of children, I am not crazy. I will end homeless families living in hostels. With that smile, with that duplicity. I promise to keep this clean, promise to put it in a comprehensible language kids can understand. Courageous kids, boys and girls, forced by Leonardo and Iago to live a life in paralysis. So let's open it up to those kids. Pose basic questions. For example, how can a man with such beautiful daughters be so callous to other children? Thousands of children. How can another man with such awareness of our shameful history towards the LGBTI plus community be so cruel to our most vulnerable? What have we dismissed? What might have been dismissed as conspiracy theory a decade or so ago has been so normalized it now makes the front page of the Irish Times. Leonardo spends millions on a propaganda machine to convince us that what is happening is normal. People being taught to hate themselves is normal. People being criminalized for their class is normal. People working for nothing is normal. People on 0-hour contracts is normal. People leaving their fridge empty to pay their rent is normal. People leaving their children hungry to pay their mortgage is normal. People being evicted by bailed out banks is normal. Children forced to live in emergency accommodation is normal. Babies robbed of a birthright, fought for men and women braver than any of us is normal. Using democracy as a weapon is normal. You hear that, cops? People killing themselves? People killing themselves is that really what passes for normal? Kids? No doubt you kids already know the answer. No doubt you've already learned more about life and reality and subhuman treatment than we'll ever know. No doubt they are the living, breathing personification of the normalization of obscenity. No doubt they are learning the simple lessons being taught to them by our leaders. Lessons like lying leads to success. Lack of empathy breeds progress. Betrayal is good for business. Lack of empathy benefits progress. Dreams are for the select few. Having a childhood is only for the chosen. Religion is a scam. Christ is a con artist. The price of innocence is a horror story. The consequence of vulnerability is a hashtag, and the meek shall inherit an eviction. No doubt they have learned that the men and women elected to protect them really do not care. Do not care if you and your mother and your father and your brothers and your sisters die in a doorway. Unless we, adults, teach them otherwise. Unless we prove to them otherwise. Because we can. There is real hope. The function of art is to stimulate and provoke us into seeing the world in an entirely new way. Our modern history is a profound hybrid of politics and art. Just not lately. But that can change. Nobody is advocating bloodshed. But when the only thing artists are shedding is the sweat from last night's session, perhaps we need to question the purpose of our work, of our art, of our lives. Or perhaps the real genius behind the normalization of obscenity is the way we have allowed it to also normalize our cowardice. Yet, all the studies have proven that normalization works both ways. When courage becomes common, we normalize heroism, and we behave accordingly. When heroism becomes a condition of being human, we normalize nobility, and we are inspired to dream. When we normalize art and science and the value of humanity beyond commerce as something fundamental to our existence, something vital to our well-being, something capable of changing our world, we put impossible dreams into action, ours and our children's. And that's what the government fears most. You think that sounds pretentious?
No, the next one after the next one.
Is it not normal to yearn to connect?
Hope for the future.
Is it not normal to yearn to love, to protect, to inspire, to thrive? Is it not normal to yearn for a better future for our country, our community, our family, ourselves? Is it not normal to fight back when the best of us is being attacked by the worst of us? Is it not normal to protect our children by any means necessary? Gone too far? Have I crossed the line? I'm no doctor, but apparently Varadkar wasn't much of one either. And I've witnessed firsthand Coveney's bedside manner, that smile, that duplicity. But let's keep it polite, as promised. Let's direct this question to the thousands of children forced into emergency accommodation, them and the tens of thousands waiting in the wings. Remember the Cambridge English Dictionary's definition of psychopath? If just one of you feels that just one of these definitions does not apply to the people using you and your family as economic weapons, then we'll retract the entire thesis. Fair enough? A psychopath is a person who has no feeling for other people. I am not crazy. I will end homeless families living in a hostel. The psychopath does not think about the future. I am not crazy. I will end homeless families. Does not feel bad about what they have done in the past. I am not crazy. I will end homeless, very mentally ill. I am not crazy. I will end. A psychopath is unstable. I am not crazy. I will. A psychopath is dangerous. I am not crazy. I am not a psychopath. I am Leo Varadkar. I am Simon Coveney. I will end somebody. Our children are the most insightful witnesses to how we adults have allowed psychopaths to turn this country into a floating psychiatric hospital. But are we going to listen to them? They are kids, after all, in emergency accommodation. Nameless, faceless statistics. Ghosts. A hashtag. Or maybe they're more than that. Maybe they want us to fight for them, for their nation, for their soul, for their right to a childhood. Maybe they believe we are braver than we know. Maybe they understand we can only figure that out in retrospect, after we have taken action. Maybe they realize we don't have to be afraid anymore. Maybe us and them. Maybe they understood before us that we do not have to be led by psychopaths. Maybe, just maybe, these beautiful, brave boys and girls are waiting for us to step up and demonstrate the real meaning of what it means to be mad. Maybe they are waiting for us to be what they need us to be. Brave parents, dragon slayers, psycho killers. Thanks to you, kids.